In this video, we will continue to talk about materials in Octane for Blender, and we're gonna concentrate more on the use of textures. But before, we're gonna see also how we can create like more Toon effect, so something more cartoonish, something more like hand drawing. So we're gonna see that we can create fake effects, or let's say not realistic effect, but also realistic materials, realistic effects using PBR materials and textures. So in the previous video, we saw how we can work with the emissive material and emissive channel mostly. So we created like neon light, and we created something that can contribute to the lighting of the scene. But also we introduce a lot of basic channels which are really important, and how to use them with the simple values, simple parameters, which is kind of a first thing that you can do. We also done this with the environment. We started with a simple color, and then we added textures. So we can start with something really basic, talking about environment, talking about materials, and then we can increase the realism, the complexity, and the accuracy using textures. So this works, of course, also in material and in the various channels. So while in the previous video we created some basic metal, basic glass, basic plastic material, here we're gonna start to experiment with something more about textures and also about other nodes that can be helpful to work with textures. So what I'm gonna do here to start is add something that is gonna work with the Toon effect, which will be the last two lights that we didn't see yet, which are the point light and the sunlight, which don't work as a realistic light here in Octane for Blender, but they work as Toon light. So to do this, I'm gonna start with a really simple scene here. Just open up a previous lesson where we only have this monkey head. So again, we can use a simple color, we can use a simple value, we can use a simple parameter just by clicking and changing. When we have a color, just picking a different color. Well, actually, a color is not a single value. It's not a single parameter, but it's the combination of three different values, which are, in this case, RGB, so red, green, and blue values. So I can add node by clicking and dragging, but usually I don't find the Octane node like this, but I do Shift A. So when I do Shift A or go to the add, I can find here the Octane nodes. So just to begin to work with some nodes here, before we get into the Toon effect, into the Toon light, I'm going to show you here again some really simple passages using the nodes. So we can see here there are different nodes for the emission. We already talked a little bit about that. And then you have for nodes for the texture, node for the mapping. So if you go in the texture, you can see you have RGB color. So when you drag and drop this one here, just place it in the albedo, you are essentially inserting here a single value. So you can see that the channel there is not guided anymore from the previous parameter, but it's now guided by this linked parameter right here. Now I can also copy and paste, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, I can copy and paste nodes, and now I can switch, I can just save one for later and then use the new one, or I can also use both. So let's see another node here, which is called mixed. So again, this can be done with simple colors, but can be done also for textures. So if you click, and you can see that if you place it on a link, it's going to generate this intersection automatically. And now I select the first texture, the second texture, which right now are simple colors, and you can see I can mix the amount. So there are some nodes that will help you to insert values, and other nodes that will help you to edit and manage and change and mix and whatever. So there are different types of nodes and for different purposes, and nodes that can be used for textures, and nodes can be used for simple colors or procedural maps. So let's add another one here, and I'm gonna call this floats to color node, which is the one that can be used to insert more than one value. So usually here, this refers to RGB again. And if you want to see that, just type 255, because if you type 255 on RG and B, it's going to give you the white color, because this is the maximum. These are additive colors. They are not subtractive colors. So when you add everything, you're going to get the white. And you also have floats to color here, which is going to give you RGB, and it's pretty much the same thing. So if you want to insert a precise color, you can insert the precise RGB values here, and you're gonna get that exact color. Now, usually when you have 111, you're gonna get the black color, but right now it doesn't work, so I'm gonna add another one, which is gonna be a float to grayscale, which is gonna use a grayscale from black to white. So in this case, it's transforming, well, it's not using the RGB values. So I can delete that. You can see when you have the red link, it doesn't work. So this goes from 0 to 1. Now 0 usually means black, 1 usually means white. The grayscale are all the values that are in between. Now most of the channels that you will find, they will work with black and white. Black meaning the absence of the effect, 1 meaning the 100% of that effect. So if I do this for metallic, you can see that 0 means non-metallic material, 1 means metallic material. If I do it for the specular, 0 means non-specular, so it will not reflect the lights. 1 means that I can definitely see the lights reflected on my object. Now you can use those also for the Toon effect. Now together with the colors, the simple values, you also have procedural maps. Now procedural maps are kind of something in between realistic texture and a simple non-realistic or like low realistic value. So procedural maps are good because you can edit them inside the software without exiting the software. You can manage here the scale, the scattering of those. This is scratches, by the way, the scratches node. So you can see how it generates a lot of black and white stripes or scratches on the surface. So I don't need to get like in Photoshop or in GIMP or in Pixar or in Canva to change that image. I can just edit this image right here, creating random effects. Now, if I change that from the albedo to the metallic, again, remember that the white parts will be the more metallic and the black parts will be the less metallic. So this is what's gonna happen also using textures, but right now it's kind of simpler to understand because we can definitely see the difference there. Now you can place also the invert node, which is going to invert the effect. It's going to make the black white and the white black. So you're going to have the inverse. And if you use it for specular, again, you can see that now the lights can be reflected only on the white areas, not on the black areas. So if you orbit around, you can see the sunlight. It's only been reflected or visible on the specular parts. And again, you can invert the parts that will be more specular and less specular. And then you have other channels again, but right now we are not using a simple value, we're using something more complex, which is procedural map. But later we will apply the textures, which will be more complex.